Hello, baseball fans. This is Anthony with BBSN, and we are back with our 1976 Status Pro Advanced Game of the Week replay. And representing the combatants in Week 6 of this project will be the Houston Astros and the St. Louis Cardinals in a game that was played on 5/7/76. And in real life, this game went to the Astros 3-1 as they collected 8 hits to 6 for the Cardinals. Neither team had an error. And the purpose of this particular game is basically to highlight J.R. Richard, who is one of probably, in my mind anyway, the 3 or 4 most intimidating pitchers in the history of baseball. And when you're speaking about just pure intimidation, I think you have to put JR up there with the likes of Bob Gibson, Randy Johnson, and John Drysdale. He was a towering 6'8", so very similar to Johnson, where it seemed when he would release a ball, he'd be 50 feet away from home plate. It was a solid 225, 230 during his playing career, and had a fastball that clocked in the high 90s. So definitely one of the most electrifying pitchers in his very brief career. And if you're familiar with the story of J.R. Richard, of course, that career was really blossoming. 1976, he was a 20-game winner. And over the 3 seasons after this, 77, 78, 79, he went on to win 18 games in each of those seasons. And in 1980, probably was on track for his best season yet. He was 30 years old, and as a pitcher, really in his prime, he had stayed reasonably healthy when he started to have fatigue issues. And ultimately, it was discovered that he had blood clots in his throwing shoulder, one of which later, or another clot formed later in his neck as well, which led to him having a stroke and effectively ended his career at that point. He did attempt to come back in the 82 season and really never got further than AAA. His velocity just was not the same, and it really, the surgeries, the resulting surgeries on his shoulder and whatnot, it really just effectively derailed his career, and it turned into for a time, a very sad story when he went on to get into business away from baseball. He ended up losing roughly $300,000 in an oil scam, and then later paying a settlement of almost $700,000 in a divorce. And ultimately, it led to him being homeless and on the streets, living under an underpass approximately 7-8 miles from the Astrodome in 1993-94. And since then, a little bit of redemption. The Astros actually, I believe it was last year on his 68th birthday, recognized him. And he's now involved in ministries and some projects to promote baseball for youth. So he has recovered and is on his feet currently, but he definitely went through a rough spell. So for J.R. Richard, this replay is for you. And opposing him on the mound for St. Louis will be Bob Forsch. Forsch was a 8-game winner in 76, went 8-10 with a 3.94 ERA. Today's lineups for the visiting Astros: Larry Milbourne at second base, Enos Cabell at third, Jose Can You See Cruz in center, Big Bob Watson at first, Cliff Johnson, who is for a big man, a very versatile player. He'll be behind the plate for the Stros tonight. Greg Gross in right field, Wilbur Howard in left, Roger Metzger at short, and of course JR on the mound. And JR has a fatigue rating of 17. For the Cardinals, Lou Brock leads off in left, Vic Harris at second, Bake McBride in center, Ted Simmons will be behind the plate, Willie Crawford in right, Keith Hernandez at first, Hector Cruz at third, and Don Kessinger at shortstop, and as mentioned, Bob Forsch on the hill. So let's get it started. Larry Milbourne set to lead it off for the Stros. And I recently relocated my gaming area. I was doing this in our game room on the pool table, and finally decided to get a little space set up in my office. So we're in there, and it will be a little bit more quiet in terms of background noises. And again, on the 1D12, 1 would be a clutch defense check if the result's off the pitcher's card. If it would clutch batting check, sorry, if it's off the batter's card and there are runners on base. And of course, 11 or 12 will mean an error check, which will be the case here as we get underway. So Forsch, his control is 2-5 against lefties and 4-7 against righties. JR is 4-7 against lefties, 2-7 against righties. So first check will be off Larry Milbourne's card, and against the right-hander, a 38. And that is going to be an out. And Milbourne, a right-hand or left switch hitter, so hitting left-handed, pops that up to the catcher behind the plate, and this will be an error check as mentioned. For the Cardinals is Ted Simmons, who has an error rating of 3, and that is a 2. So that will be an error, and for the catcher, error 2. And on these charts, actually, okay, there it is, sorry. Error 2, drops easy foul pop, redo at bat. So all that, we're going to replay that whole sequence. Milbourne with a second piece or second life steps in. 641 is going to be off Forsch's card to the switch hitter. Or actually, no, he's hitting left-handed, so it'll be off his card. 41, that'll be an out. And a no error check this time, and that's going to be a fly ball to deep left field. And going back to take that in is Brock, 1 down as we are fully underway. All right, up now, Enos Cabell, third baseman, and 5, that will be off Forsch's card, and 53. And Cabell, the right-hander, that's going to be an out. And a line drive right back at Forsch. He reaches out and stabs that. Wipes the sweat from his brow. 2 down for Jose Can You See Cruz up. And that will be an out off of Forsch's card. And Cruz, it's a ground ball down to first base. And picking that up himself and going to the bag will be Keith Hernandez, the talented defensive player, of course. Went on to get himself a couple of rings with the Mets. So we are into the bottom of the first inning. And I am just adjusting my setup here. So no score. And coming to bat will be the Cards. Speedy Lou Brock to lead it off. And 5, this will be off JR's card. This will be a clutch defense result. And again, the roll of 1 on the 1d12. So for Lou Brock, that is a ground ball down to shortstop. And at shortstop for the Astros is Roger Metzger. And Metzger is a 2 clutch defense. And 2, roll of 15, going to be easily within his range there. And that is going to be a made to look easy. 6-3 put out, 1 down for the Cards. Up next, Vic Harris, and Harris, the second baseman today for the Cardinals. He hit 228 in 1976, a 275 on-base percentage, slugging percentage of 309. And 2 is going to be off JR's card, and 15, and Harris against the left-hander, and that is going to be a single into right field, or Harris hitting left-handed, I should say, the switch hitter. So Cardinals in business here in the first against Richard, and Bake McBride steps up. And 8 coming off McBride's card. This will be a clutch batting check, and 24 gets the right-hander. McBride, a solid double into the gap. And let's see if that's going to score a run. So Harris rounds third. Here he comes. And he is a OBR of C. So coming in to score, or attempting to score, 26, and C. Double off a batter's card, and he is just in there ahead of the throw. So the Cardinals break on top, 1-0. As Bake McBride, a clutch double. Once again, driving in Vic Harris. Cardinals lead this 1-0, and Richard looking to collect himself. 1 down for Ted Simmons, runner on second base, and 3 off of Richard's card. 16. And against the, again, Simmons a switch hitter, so against the left-hander, 16 is going to be a single into right field. And Bake McBride is a B. One thing with these charts, and it just must be my eyes, is I probably should have printed them without the color coding, because the purple on the base runner advancement chart really bleeds in. But 53, and that's going to be B for McBride, and he's going to stop at third, actually. So hustling to get that and get the ball back in was Greg Gross, and that prevents a run from scoring. And next up, cleanup hitter Willie Crawford, or I'm sorry, 5th place hitter Willie Crawford. And 3 and 21 against Richard's card, and Crawford, the left-hander, and he's going to swing and a miss. Richard with his first K of the game. Reaches back, and I want to touch 99 on the radar gun. 2 down for Keith Hernandez. Richard gets a sign, delivers, 88, going to be an out, and Hernandez pops that up into shallow right field, and circling under that out and right is Gross, and he pulls it in, so further damage is averted, but the Cards do come up with 3 hits and a run, and we head to the second inning. Cardinals lead this 1-0 over Richard and the Astros. So Bob Watson to lead it off, and 64 off of Watson's card. That's going to be an out. And Watson ground ball down to first base, and Hernandez gloves that cleanly, goes to the bag, 3 unassisted. 1 down for the Stros, and Cliff Johnson went on to play with several teams in the majors, among them Jays and Yankees for a short period. Off of Johnson's card, 85 is going to be an out, and Johnson gets into a forced fastball and grounds that down to shortstop. 6-3 on the putout. So 2 quick outs as Kessinger, the veteran, takes care of Johnson, and that brings up Greg Gross, Astros right fielder. Comes a pitch from Forsch, and again off Gross's card, 33. So Astros have had some chances, and it gets the right-hander. Forsch ropes that down the right field line, and he's going to end up at second base with a 2-out double. And that'll bring up Wilbur Howard, who will look to pull the Stros even. Pitch from Forsch, and 76. That will be an out, unfortunately. And yet another switch hitter. So LN, that's a fly ball into left field, and coming in to take that easily is Lou Brock, the speedy Lou Brock. So the inning is over. Stros get a hit and strand that runner on second base. We are heading to the bottom of the second, and Cardinals lead this 1-0 over the Astros. And Forsch's fatigue ratings, again, Richard is 17, Forsch a 13. So Richard is currently sitting at a 4 and a 1 for Forsch. As Hector Cruz leads off the bottom of the second for the Cardinals. And 7 going to be off Richard's card. 26, you know what's coming there. Ring him up. The strikeout is Richard with a high heat. And against right-handers, Richard is going to fan batters on 16 to 43, 18 to 31 against lefties. And yet another switch hitter. Cardinals seems like they have always had a lot of switch hitters in their lineups. Those great teams of the 80s, Pendleton and among others there. It always seems like the Cardinals have 3 or 4 switch hitters in the lineup at all times. Sometimes throws me up playing these tabletop games. 61, and that's going to be off Richard's card. That'll be an out for Kessinger. And left-handed hitting Kessinger grounds that down to third base. So 2 away, and that brings up the pitcher, Bob Forsch. And And 9 is going to be off Force's card, 14 against the right-hander, and Force drives a single back up the middle. She kind of threw his bat out in self-defense, and Richard shakes his head as the lineup flips back to the top. Speedy leadoff hitter Lou Brock, and got away off of Brock's card, 87. That's going to be an out, however, and Brock grounds that down to third base. So 5-3 on the putout, and inning is over. We head to the top of the third. Cardinals lead this 1-0. As Roger Metzger, and then it will be JR, and back to the top of the order. So 8 coming off of Metzger's card. 56, that's going to be an out, and Metzger lifts that high into left field. Lou Brock, no problem there. Can of corn, 1 down as J.R. Richard comes up, trailing in this one 1-0. And you got to get these cards broken in so they're not so slick. 66 off of Force's card, that is definitely going to be an out. And Richard's got a little pop. He's listed as a power hitter right-handed, or against right-handers, I should say, and he grounds that down to third base. So 5-3 on the putout, and top of the order for the Cardinals is Force. Definitely not one of his better seasons. The ERA just under 4 again for the season, but getting it done thus far as 2 down for Larry Milbourne, and that'll be off Milbourne's card, 56 against the right-hander. And Milbourne grounds that to shortstop. Coming up with that and whipping across the diamond is Kessinger. And 3 up, 3 down go the Stros. So we head to the bottom of the third inning. Cardinals still leading this 1-0. And Vic Harris set to lead it off. Harris, he singled or doubled and scored his first time up. And 10 going to be off Harris's card. That'll be an out, however. And another one of those pesky switch hitters. He grounds out to second base, 1 down. As walking back to his position and holding up a single finger is Larry Milbourne to signify the out. This will be a potential error check. 54 going to be off of Richard's card. And against the left-handed hitting McBride, Richard is going to 54 will be a revert to an out, would have been a wild pitch check. And McBride, he grounds that down to shortstop, and coming up with that is Metzger. Metzger is a 2. Should be able to get this, bobbles it, double clutches, whips it across, and still in time. So Richard getting into his groove now, and 2 down for Ted Simmons. Simmons singled back in the first inning. 7 going to be off Richard's card, 14. He's going to do it again, this time to center field. And no error check on that. So a 2-out single for Ted Simmons. And Richard now at 6 with his fatigue. Hasn't had his sharpest stuff today, and actually I did forget to check for stuff at the beginning of the game, but no worries. We will soldier on without that for this particular game. 65 will be an out, and Crawford, the left-hander, is going to grind that down to shortstop. And nice routine play there for Metzger, and the Cardinals are retired. We are through 3. And Cardinals lead this 1-0 as Enos Cabell lead it off for the Stros in the top of the 4th. Cabell, 1976, he hit .273 with a .309 OBP. This is coming off Cabell's card, 36 against the right-hander. And Cabell ropes that into the gap, and it's rolling around in the outfield. Gibson, or never mind Gibson, Brock can't pick it up, and Cabell. Definitely one of those times where I wish I could do outtakes, but it is recorded as is, and Cabell, the dust clears, he's at third base, a leadoff triple. So Jose, can you see Cruz now? Nobody out, and runner at third. And you got to think the Stros are going to pull even here. 8 coming off of Cruz's card. 64 against the right-hander, that will be an out. And the left-handed hitter, fly ball into left field, and Cabell on third base has an OBR of A. And that is not going to be deep enough to get him in. So Cruz lets a golden opportunity slip through his fingers there as back to third base goes Cabell. And Big Bob Watson up, and 7. Right-handed hitting Watson, that's going to be off Force's card, 43. And a potential wild pitch. So will it be or will it not be? And pitch, yes! And that gets away and to the backstop. And coming in to score and tying this up is Cabell. So a wild pitch has knotted this up. And Watson, tied up now, steps back in. No runners on. Force shakes his head, looks to regain composure off of Watson's card against the right-hander, 28. And Watson drives that into the gap, and he's going to have an easy stand-up double. He roped that. Rocketed off the wall on a bounce. So the Stros getting the lumber going as Cliff Johnson steps up. And 84 off of Johnson's card. That will be an out. And ground ball down to shortstop, and ranging into the hole to pick that up is Kessinger. And he's not going to stop Watson from going to third, but there are 2 outs. As Greg Gross comes up and looking to put the Stros on top, 85 off Gross's card, and that's going to be an out. And a sharp line drive to second base, so Side is retired. But a couple of hits for the Stros and 1 run. We head to the bottom of the 4th inning. This game is all tied up at 1 apiece. And leading it off will be Keith Hernandez. And Hernandez, 289 in 1976, and had already established himself as one of, if not the premier defensive first baseman in the game by that time. 4 is going to be off Richard's card, and 82. Hernandez, ground ball down to second base, 1 away. And Hector Cruz, a batter. Comes a pitch from Richard off of Richard's card again. That will be an out. And it's a chopper out in front of the plate, and hustling out to get that is Cliff Johnson. Whips it to first base, 2 down. So the rare 2-3 on the put out there, which you do not see very much as Kessinger steps in. Richard looking to get out of this inning without surrendering a base runner would be the first, and this is coming off of his card, 65 against the switch-hitting Kessinger. And that's going to be a fly ball to center field, so 3 up, 3 down. As Jose Cruz takes care of Kessinger, and we're heading to the 5th inning. Score is tied at 1. As it seems Richard, as he has gotten loose, has started to find the plate with more frequency. Wilbur Howard leads it off against Forsch, and 11, that is going to be a single into left field. So the Stros in business again to start the 5th. And Forsch now starting to show some cracks in the armor. He was on point through the first 3 innings and kind of had a letdown in the 4th, allowing a couple hits and a run. So Metzger the batter, and here comes pitch. And switch hitting Metzger, this will come off of his card. 84 will be an out, however. And Metzger, deep fly ball to center field, going back to the track, to the wall, and Bake McBride pulls it in. And with a runner on first, going first to second would be an OBRB, and that is what Wilbur Howard is. So he's going to heads up play and tags on that. So Richard now has a runner on second base as that deep fly ball to the track. Gets a heads up Wilbur Howard to third or second. And bunting. He's a C. We're going to let him hit away. Why not? And coming off of his card, 88, definitely going to be an out there. And the power hitting J.R. Richard grounds that down to shortstop. That's going to hold the runner at second. So top of the order, 2 down, as Larry Milbourne will try to pick up the runner on second base. There we go. And off of Howard's card, 67 against the right-hander, it'll be an out. And side is retired as another chopper in front of the plate, and Simmons quick to pounce on that and whip it to first. So we head to the bottom of the 5th inning as the Astros get a hit, leave a runner at second base, and we are still tied at 1. Bob Forsch, the pitcher, leading it off, and Richard remembers what he did last time up, a single. See if he bears down a little harder here, and 33, and that's going to be a swing and a miss, so definitely does. Blows the heat right by him. Obviously did not take kindly to being taken to task last time Forsch hit with a single. Lou Brock up, he's grounded out twice in this game, once to short, once to third, and this is going to come off Richard's card against the left-hander, 63. And Brock, line drive to second base, and taking a step to his left to spear that will be Larry Milbourne, 2 down. Vic Harris, the batter. Harris today is 1 for 2 with a double and a run scored. Here comes the pitch. And 65 off of JR's card. And that's going to be another line drive to second base, and Milbourne busy out there. 2 consecutive line drives, but 3 up, 3 down go the Cardinals again. And J.R. Richard has now set down 7 in a row as we head to the top of the 6th inning, still tied at 1. And looks like we could be heading for a second consecutive pitcher's duel in our game of the week, as Forsch gets set to take on Enos Cabell. It's going to come off of Forsch's card, and Cabell, the right-hander, 14, possible error check 2 after the result. That's going to be a single into left field. So Cabell opens the 6th with a single, and in left field for the Cards, Lou Brock is a 2. And he gets to that, no problem, gets it back in with an accurate throw. That holds Cabell to first. Taking a wide turn at the bag and thought better of it, hoping for an errant throw, which did not happen. Jose, can you see Cruz up? And that's a foul ball into the bleachers. And the umpire was not prepared. We had to retrieve that. So 68. And off of Cruz's card, that'll be an out. And Cruz, ground ball down to second base. That's going to be a fielder's choice. 4-6 will erase Cabell. And on first is Jose Cruz. 1 down for Bob Watson now. Here comes a pitch, and this will be off Forsch's card and a clutch defense check. So Watson, that's a line drive to second base, and clutch D at second. Vic Harris is a 4, so he is pretty good. And a roll of 34 within his range. It'll come off table result or table A. Line out, and lead runner doubled off. A nice play out there by Harris, and he catches Jose Cruz unaware. So that will be an L4. 2-3 double play. So a leadoff hit is squandered as we're going to head to the bottom of the 6th inning, and we are still tied at 1. Excellent play out there by Vic Harris. Just a total reaction, and straying too far off the bag, getting doubled off was Cruz. As Bake McBride set to take on Richard now, and again entering the 6th inning. Every inning that these pitchers start now will be an automatic fatigue point, which puts JR at 7 now. So come off Richard's card, and 45 against the left-hander, and it's going to be a walk. First of the game by either pitcher. And Bake McBride, he is a speed of B. And he's going to try and steal here. So behind the plate for the Astros, Cliff Johnson, he has a C arm. Here we go, 84, and 84 will go to the catcher's arm, and he's going to get gunned down. So Cliff Johnson comes up firing, and the leadoff walk is erased. As they anticipated some late inning shenanigans here with a tied game. Ted Simmons now the batter. And 83, that's going to be a clutch or 1 will be a clutch fielding check, and 83 probably won't be good for the Astros. As Simmons, that's going to be a fly ball to left field and in left field for the Stros. Clutch D rating of 4, which actually might not be too bad, is Wilbur Howard. And 83, though, that is going to go off of column B. So fly ball to left field. Single falls in front of the fielder. Runners advance 1 base, 2 bases of 2 outs. So range coming into play there, and single by Simmons. That would have got a runner to third if McBride had not tried to steal second. So that caught stealing could come back to be huge. Runner on first, 1 out for Willie Crawford, coming off Crawford's card, and 23. And 23 against the right-hander. That is going to be a single into right. So Simmons is a C OBR, and 87, that's going to be a challenge play. So challenge play, we'll roll it again, and it'll be either safe or out. If it's off of Simmons' check, it'll be 11 to 38 to be safe. 63 is going to go to the arm of the right fielder. And Greg Gross has a 5, so he's got a cannon out there, and wasn't even close, since Simmons doesn't even bother to slide as he is roped. A bullet in from Greg Gross, and Simmons stumbled going around second base. So base running blunders galore here, as Crawford, another single. And Richard's fatigued now at a 10, and there are 2 outs without the benefit of the defense making a play. 9-5 on that put out. So Keith Hernandez up. And the St. Louis crowd is not happy with their home team's antics on the base paths here. 35 to Hernandez, and high heat rings him up and sits him down. J.R. Richard gets out of the inning with a strikeout. Gives up a couple of hits and a walk, though. Still no damage done as we head to the 7th inning, and we are still knotted up at 1 in this one. And maybe too early to start worrying about free baseball, but the way these pitchers are going could be a possibility. Forsch, he is now a 7 on his fatigue rating, and he again only can go to 13. So 8 coming off of Cliff Johnson's card, and 55 against the right-hander, and that's going to be a base on balls. So Forsch issues his first free pass, as going down to first base is Johnson. And Johnson runs kind of like a sloth with a sprained ankle, so we will be not attempting to steal here as Greg Gross steps in. And 35 off Forsch's card against the left-hander. 35, and that's going to be a potential wild pitch, and will it be? No, it will not, and we will then proceed to an out check. So Greg Gross, the left-hander, and that is a GX6, so that will be a fielder's choice as 6'4" races Johnson. And Gross able to beat out the relay to first. 1 down for Wilbur Howard, and Howard, he has singled and flown out to left field in this one. And that won't be an error check, so 74 off of Forsch's card, that'll be an out. And batting left-handed, that's a ground ball down to second base, and that's going to be a tailor-made 4-6-3 double play. So Forsch, that also takes back a reduction point, so puts him back to 7. As the leadoff walk does not come back to bite him, Forsch, he's twirling a very nice game, matching Richard, actually pitching better than Richard as we head to the bottom of the 7th inning. And again, all tied up at 1 apiece. So Hector Cruz up, and due up for the Cardinals are Cruz, Kessinger, and Forsch. And if the Cardinals get a runner on, that is probably going to be the end of the road for Forsch. As warming up down in the bullpen is the Mad Hungarian, Al Raboski. So talking about intimidating, really not an overpowering pitcher in terms of his fastball, but his pre-at-bat antics and that beard and everything else definitely gave him a unique look. So 44 to, and it's going to come off Richard's card, and Cruz, the right-hander, and he has no answer for that as, well, Richard has no answer for Cruz as he sails one high, so 4 wide ones, and Cruz leads it off with a walk. JR's second of the game, and he is now at 11 or 12 fatigue-wise. So that will definitely probably end Forsch's night, and Kessinger, he's a double-A sacrifice, and we're going to get the sacrifice called here. Get a runner into scoring position. Double A, 81, and 81 will be batter out, 2-4 sack. So 2-4 on the put out, and that brings up the pitcher spot, and we are going to have a pinch hitter. As Forsch is going to be retired, and I'm just going to leave that in there as a marker. So going to the bench, it's going to be yet another one of those switch hitters, Gary Templeton. And Forsch, his day will come to an end. He pitched well today. Forsch went 7 innings, only gave up 4 hits, a single run. 1 walk, and I do not believe he had any strikeouts. Double check. He did not have any strikeouts, but kept the ball on the ground and kept it at his defense, so an effective outing. And that means we're going to get to see the Mad Hungarian, Al Raboski, when the Astros come up in the 8th. So that will be a treat for the home fans who always love Raboski and his craziness on the hill. Richard, meanwhile, could care less. He has another task at hand, and that's to stop that runner at second from scoring. Winds up, and here comes the heat, and off of Richard's card, Templeton swing and a miss. Richard sends him down with a big strikeout. So back to the top of the order, and Templeton does not strike out a lot, but when JR cranks up that fastball, a few have an answer for it. So Lou Brock up 2 outs now, and Cardinals still have that lead runner on second base, the potential winning run in this one. Here comes a pitch, and 18, that's going to be off Brock's card, and that's going to be a single into center field. So with 2 outs and the base runner at second, Hector Cruz with 2 outs, his run rating will go to a B. So driven into center field, and Cruz going around third. And 56 with a C, and he is going to be held at third base. So that was huge. Hustling to get that in center field was Jose Cruz, and unable to score on the 2-out single. So Lou Brock's going to try and steal second base here. And again, Johnson is a C, Brock double A. Here comes the pitch, and Brock takes off. And they're not even going to try the throw there to see if Simmons held on to it, and he did. Or Johnson, I should say. So a stolen base, runners on second, third now for the Cardinals. And a hit by Vic Harris could really put this one on ice with the Mad Hungarian set to pitch. Not going to happen, though. 87, that'll be an out off of Harris's card. And no potential error as Harris grounds that down to shortstop. A sure-handed play there by Roger Metzger and the Cardinals. Threat neutralized. So a walk and a hit, but they leave 2 runners, and we are heading to the 8th inning. Still tied up at 1 in this one. And we have a managerial decision to make as Richard is due up second. Roger Metzger, the batter. And 6, the Mad Hungarian. He is a 2-6 against lefties, which Metzger will be as a switch hitter. Or actually, Roboski's left-handed, so he'll be right. And 2-8 against righties, so this will come off of Roboski's card. And 66 will be an out. And the right-hander, ground ball down to second base. So Richard, this is the 70s, remind you, not now, where he would have been on the bench 2 innings ago. He's not pitching bad. He has given up. Well, he's actually given up 8 hits and a couple of walks, but stayed out of trouble outside of that first inning. He is sitting at 13. We'll go to 14 in the 9th. So we're going to let him... we're going to make a controversial decision and leave him in. This will come off of his card. That'll be an out. And that will be a pop fly to shortstop. So circling under that and taking out will be Kessinger. You have 6 on the put out. And back to the top of the order now. And Larry Milbourne, the batter. So in that case, pinch hitter wouldn't have mattered either way. Just in case hindsight comes into play. And 67, and this will be a right-hander. That'll be an out. So ideally, Roboski, surprisingly, against other lefties, he does strike out a fair number, but he also walks a lot, so he's not very effective against left-handers. But Milbourne, that's going to be a ground ball down to third, and that is going to retire the side. So 3 up, 3 down for the Mad Hungarian, as we are heading to the bottom of the 8th inning. And we are still tied up at 1. Big McBride set to lead it off for the Cardinals. And 7 and 17 against the left-hander, and that was going to be would have been a potential balk, but instead will revert to an out. As JR only giving up hits in the teens, his pitching card is very, very solid. So McBride, that'll be a fly ball to right field. 1 quick out as the put out is made by Greg Gross. And Ted Simmons, the batter, 8. Coming off the Simmons card, 75 will be an out. And a possible error as well on the roll of 11 or 12. So Simmons, a ground ball back to the pitcher, and Richard, he is a 15. And yes, that will be an error. So error type will be a 3. And on the G1, pitcher fumbles comebacker, OBR D or E out at first, 1-3, others safe. So Simmons, he actually might get bailed out. Nope, Simmons is a C, so he's going to beat that bobble out, and that will be an E1. And errors, even when it's on him, do not cause a fatigue reduction. So Richard toes the rubber and set to face Willie Crawford, but there will be some action in the Astros bullpen. And it's surprising that the Stros, they used a lot of different pitchers in dual roles in 1976. But they did have a closer, and that would be Ken Forsch, brother to Bob. So both Forsch brothers are looking to appear in this game as Ken begins to loosen up. Willie Crawford, the batter. And it'll come off Richard's card, and 25, and Crawford. He's going to feel the heat and head back to the dugout. Victim of a strikeout. Locked him up on that. Absolutely froze as that came in across the letter. So 2 out for Keith Hernandez. And it's going to be off Hernandez's card. And single plus a possible error. That's going to go into center field. So in center field for the Astros, Jose Cruz is a 3. We will check the error first and then runner advancement. And no error, so 2 outs again. That moves up the OBR from a C to a B for Simmons. And 36, and that is definitely probably going to get him to third base. 36 and a B, and he's easily to third. So runners at the corner, and JR should be out of this inning. He's now sitting at 14 fatigue-wise. Hector Cruz, a batter, and Richard. 4. This will come off of his card, and this will be a clutch fielding result, a 1. So Cruz, a right-handed hitter, that's a ground ball down to shortstop, and Metzger, clutch defense, is a 2. The roll is 52. And that's going to come off of column B, so G6. And single to center field, and Richard has come undone. So that puts him up to 16 now. An unearned run. And if Kessinger, well, Kessinger's even worse, but even an average shortstop or just above average shortstop would have made that play. Difference between clutch D3 and clutch D2. So Hernandez, he's going to go over to third base as RBI single for Hector Cruz, and he is the current hero for the Cardinals. And Kessinger will be Richard's last batter as he is 1 away from his fatigue point. 8 and 58 off of Kessinger's card against the right-hander, and that'll be an out. And no error check there as Kessinger grounds that down to first base, and up with that is Watson. So 3 unassisted, but 2 hits and a run and 1 very costly error for the Astros in this inning. And going into the top of the 9th, Cardinals lead this 2-1. So Richard, we'll close the door on him. Again, maybe I shouldn't have left him in. Not one of his better outings for sure. He's going to end up going 8 innings. Gives up 10 hits, 2 runs, 1 of them earned. And based on balls, we'll have 2 walks. And did not have his best fastball today for sure. He ended up with 4, 5, 6 strikeouts. No home runs given up. And Ken Forsch, if he is needed, if the Stros can rally, he will come out to face the Cardinals in the bottom of the 9th. So Enos Cabell, it'll be Cabell, Cruz, and Watson as they look to pull it out of the fire against the Mad Hungarian, Al Roboski. And Roboski had a 3-up, 3-down inning in the 8th. He has a fatigue rating of 5. He is currently at a 1. And here comes a pitch, and against the right-hander, 6. That'll be off Roboski's card. 71 will be an out. With a potential error, I should add. So Cabell is going to be a ground ball down to second base, and at second base for the Cardinals. Vic Harris, he is an 8, so... And that is going to be an error. So Harris boots that. We'll see what type of error. Infield is going to be an error 3. So G4 on the error 3. Second baseman throws ball in the dirt. First base can't come up with it. E4. Runners advance 1 base. Batter to first. So 1 error now for each team, and errors that proved costly to Richard. We'll see if the Astros can also capitalize. Jose, can you see Cruz? Hit and run is a 0. That was a thought, but will not come to fruition. Roboski kicks, delivers. Lefty-lefty matchup. And 64 off Roboski's card. That's going to be a base on ball. So again, as mentioned, he does not particularly pitch well to other left-handers. So nobody out and 2 on. Bob Watson up. Normally this would be a sacrifice situation, but you're not going to have your cleanup hitter sack here. So 5, that'll be off Roboski's card, and 53, and it's going to be an out with a potential error again, roll of 11. So Watson, a G3A. So that is going to move up the runners at worst, and down at first base is Hernandez, who has a error rating of 4, so I'm pretty sure he will make this play, and he does. So we're going to call that 3-1 on the putout, as Watson doesn't deliver the tying run, but he does his job in getting the runners advanced. So runners on second, third, 1 out. Cliff Johnson up, and Johnson, he's going to be a power hitter against the lefty. Here comes a pitch. And 6, that'll be off Roboski's card, 48. And Roboski is going to load the bases. So the Mad Hungarian will have nobody to be mad at but himself if he can't pull this out. As sacks are loaded, 1 down for Greg Gross. Here comes pitch, and 25, 8. That's going to be off of Gross's card. Good news for the Astros. And 25 versus a left-hander. That is going to be a single into right field. So that is going to tie it, and that'll be an unearned run. And let's see if we will get more. So on second base, Jose Cruz is an A. And he's definitely going to be hoofing it around third base. And 28 with an A. Single to center field. And he is in easily. So that will get Cliff Johnson over to third as 2 runs come in on that single. And Greg Gross is the potential hero in this one with a 2 RBI shot with 1 out. And Roboski has reached his fatigue point, and that is going to be it for the Mad Hungarian. So, 2-inning save was not in the works for Roboski. He goes 1 1/3 innings and only gave up 1 hit, but that error and the base on balls killed him. Gave up 2 walks. No strikeouts, no home runs. So he will be the pitcher of record, and the Cardinals, as they go to their pen. And again, really after Roboski, they did not have a lot of go-to guys out in the pen. Mike Wallace. And Mike Wallace probably the second in command out there, so he's going to come in and try and get the Cardinals out of this inning, as Astros have taken a 3-2 lead. Wilbur Howard's going to be the batter, and Mike Wallace, a 4.07 ERA in 1976, 3-2 record, and a couple of saves. Runners now at the corners. 1 down, and Howard, the batter. 8, and again 2-9 against right-handers for Wallace, 2-7 against lefties, and Howard is going to be a righty, so that's going to come off of Wallace's card. And 22, and that's going to be a single back up the middle. So it continues to get worse, as coming in to score is Cliff Johnson. And looking to go to third, 1 out D for Greg Gross. First to third, and 11, he's going to get there. So runners at the corner still. And that's a big RBI single now for Wilbur Howard. And 4-2 is the Astros lead. And that still hasn't closed the books on Roboski, who stands to lose this. Roger Metzger, the batter. Wallace's fatigue rating also a 5. So 4 and 25, that is going to be off of Wallace's card, and Metzger will be hitting right-handed. And 25, and that is going to be a single into right field. So yet another run comes in. That's going to close the book on Roboski finally. And for advancement, Wilbur Howard, 26, and Howard is a B, and Howard, he's going to get over to third base easily. So runners still at the corner, still 1 out, and yet another RBI single. And 4 runs in, that makes it 5-2 now. So for Roboski, we can close the books on him. He gave up 4 runs, one of them unearned. And he's in line for the loss. And again, with inherited runners, if a runner scores in terms of pitcher's fatigue, that does not come off the pitcher's fatigue rating. So we will see Ken Forsch in the bottom of the ninth for the Astros, as there will be a pinch hitter for J.R. Richards. So J.R. thought that he would potentially be the losing pitcher in this one. Turns out that is not going to be the case unless the Cardinals get a big rally going. As Leon Roberts will be the pinch hitter. So Roberts steps in against Wallace. Runners get their lead, and here comes a pitch. And 3 again off of Wallace's card, and 23. Again, the right-hander, and another single. So the hits just keep on coming, and I'm just using this number for advancement instead of rolling again. A little bit quicker. 23, and Metzger is a D. So looking to go first to third, and 23 and a D, and Metzger's going to get to third base as well. So coming in to score is Wilbur Howard. And that is the 4th single in a row for the Astros. And Wallace is 1 away from his fatigue rating, getting him out of there. So Danny Frizella warming up for the Cardinals down in the pen. Back to the top of the order. Larry Milbourne up 6 and 18. It's just keep on coming, baby. And that'll be a right-hand single to center field. Wow. So on first, Roberts. Roberts is a D, and 46 first to third on single to center. And he is going to stay put. So the Astros have batted around here in the ninth as yet another run comes in to score on the Milbourne single. There's still only 1 out in this inning. This is crazy. And that's going to do it for Wallace. He is done. So Wallace comes in and cannot record a single out. Gives up 4 straight singles at 0 innings pitched. His ERA is going to be stellar after this one. Thus far on the line for 2 runs, both of them earned. And a positive note, he did not walk anybody. But didn't do much of anything else either. So, Cardinals will look to the right-hander, Danny Frizella, to kind of staunch the bleeding here. Frizella, the 4th Cardinals pitcher, and in 1976 he had a 3.97 ERA, 0-0 record, and 1 save. As Enos Cabell, 10th batter to hit in this inning, 84, and finally somebody here is going to get an out. R.N. Cabell, that's a fly ball to right field, and on third base for the, or actually no, it's first and second, so never mind that. Runners will hold on the fly out to right field as the Cardinal fans rise in a very mock and sarcastic ovation. Jose, can you see Cruz, a batter, 2 outs? And Cruz, a left-hander, Frizella, 2-9 against lefties. 42, and that is going to be a walk, however, and that'll keep the sacks jacked with Stros. They are loaded again. As 11 batters now have come to the plate in this inning, and number 12 will be Bob Watson, who had the distinction until a batter ago of making the only out in this inning. So Frizella set to pitch, and 8. Oh, he's not good against righties, folks. He's going to come off of Watson's card, but 67 against the left-hander. That'll be an out. So Watson gets into that and lines it right back at Frizella, who defends himself, makes the play, and the inning is finally over. But not before the Astros pile on 6 runs on 5 hits. They also had 3 walks in there and an error. So J.R. Richard in line to win this if Forsch can get out of here without giving up 5 runs. I think there's a pretty good chance he can do that. We head to the bottom of the 9th inning. Astros lead this one 7-2. And set to lead it off will be the pitcher spot, so we will have another pinch hitter. And the Cardinals go to their bench and dig up Reggie Smith to come out and pinch hit here in the bottom of the 9th and hopefully spark a rally of epic proportions. Smith, normally a regular, semi-regular, he's a utility player, or was a utility player for the Cardinals in '76, but he only hit .218 with a .281 OBP. Of course, they are hoping none of that matters as Ken Forsch set to deliver his first pitch, and it's going to be off Forsch's card. 62 will be an out. And the switch hitting Reggie Smith, left-handed batter, fly ball to right field, 1 down. Back to the top of the order as Lou Brock steps in. And things just looking so promising. An inning to go. 2-1 lead. Al Roboski on the hill as we enter the 9th, just not to be. And Forsch, he's 4-7 and 2-7, so this will be off Brock's card. That'll be an out. As Brock, high fly ball into center field, and Jose Cruz camps under that, taps a glove, and we are 1 away from a miraculous and game-saving comeback. Here comes a pitch. And 10, going to be off Vic Harris's card against the right-hander. Then Harris lines a single into right field, so it is not over yet. Yes, Forsch, that is his first fatigue point. So still looking very comfortable for the Stros, and 48 going to come off of Forsch's card against the left-hander, and that's going to do it, folks. 10 will be no error, as that'll be a fly ball to center field, and going to his left is Cruz. Stops, smiles, and pulls it in. Ball game over. So in the bottom of the 9th, the Cardinals get a hit, but they had a big hill to climb after a huge 9th inning for the Stros, and they cannot get it done. This one is over. The Astros win this one 7-2. And the Stros on the day, they only had 4 hits going into the 9th inning. So 7 runs, 9 hits, 1 error. And for the Cardinals, 2 runs and 11 hits. They just were not efficient with base runners on, and 1 error for the Cards. So that will do it. James Rodney Richard has prevailed in this one, even though he watched the last inning from the bench. A big 6-run rally in the top of the 9th, and that was started off by an error by the Cardinals second baseman Vic Harris, and it just snowballed from there. 3 walks and 5 hits later, 6 runs had tallied, and that did the Cardinals in. So Richard gets the win in this one, again going 8 innings, giving up 10 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Al Roboski is going to get the loss for the Cardinals. He went an inning and a third. Only gave up a single hit, but walked 2 and was victimized by the error. And of course, Mike Wallace came in and absolutely did nothing but give up scorching rockets left, right, and center, as he was a big part of the Astros rally, giving up 4 consecutive singles in his stint. So from Busch Stadium in St. Louis, thank you again for watching the Status Pro Advance 1976 Game of the Week. We hope you have enjoyed our telecast, and as always, please feel free to offer suggestions for future games, and please remember to support friends of the channel. Until next time, this is Anthony with BBSN signing off. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Take care, everyone.